Move your crap, sister yelled, dumping my files. We need this for inventory. Work from Starbucks. I said nothing. I left. The next morning by 7:30 a.m., eviction notice. By 8 a.m., 63 messages. I'd owned the $8.7 million building for 4 years. But let me start at the beginning. Because the day my sister kicked me out of my own building wasn't random. It was the inevitable conclusion of 30 years of being the sister who didn't matter. The one who was supposed to be grateful. The one who should just get out of the way. My name is Sarah Kim. I'm 34 years old. And I've spent most of my life being invisible next to my older sister's spotlight. My sister Jessica is 37. 3 years older. 3 years more everything according to our parents. Growing up in San Jose, California, Jessica was the achiever. Straight A's. Student body president. Stanford acceptance. She was the daughter our immigrant parents dreamed of. Proof that their sacrifice meant something. I was different. Quieter. More interested in computers than people. I went to UC Berkeley for computer science. Good school. But not Stanford. Jessica got her MBA. Went into consulting. McKinsey. Then moved to tech. Product management at Google. Married a software engineer named David. They bought a house in Palo Alto worth $2.3 million. I started as a software engineer at a small startup. Made $95,000. Lived in a studio apartment in Oakland. Rode my bike to work. Every family dinner was a performance where Jessica was the star. Jessica got promoted to senior PM, Mom would announce. She's leading a team of 12 people now. That's wonderful, I'd say. What about you, Sarah? Are you still doing the coding thing? I'm a senior engineer now. Building infrastructure for. That's nice. Jessica, tell us about your new house project. I learned to stay quiet. To smile. To let Jessica shine. What they didn't know was that while Jessica was climbing the corporate ladder, I was building something else entirely. In 2017 I was 27 years old. The startup I worked for, Dataflow, was growing fast. We'd built a data pipeline product that companies loved. Revenue was climbing. We had momentum. Our CEO offered early employees the chance to buy additional stock options. Discounted. But you had to pay cash up front. I can offer you options to purchase 0.5% of the company, he told me. At $3 per share. That's $75,000. I had $82,000 in savings. Every penny I'd saved since college. I'll take it, I said. Jessica told me I was insane. You're putting all your savings into a startup? That's terrible financial planning. You should be buying a condo. I believe in what we're building. Sarah, this is why you need to think bigger. Startups fail. Real estate is tangible. I didn't argue. Just bought my options. 18 months later, Salesforce acquired Dataflow for $850 million. My total equity, 0.5% plus my standard employee grant of 0.3%, was worth $6.8 million after taxes. I was 29 years old. I didn't tell anyone. Not my parents. Not Jessica. Not my coworkers who assumed I was moving to another startup. I did move to another company. But not as an employee. As an investor. With $6.8 million, I hired a wealth advisor. Margaret Chin at Bay Area Capital Management. What do you want to build? She asked. Long-term wealth. I want to own assets that appreciate and generate income. Commercial real estate? Yes. Specifically, I want to buy a building. Something in the South Bay. Tech-focused. Office space that I can lease to startups. That's capital intensive. I have capital. We started looking. In 2019 we found it. A 4-story office building in Mountain View. Built in 2005. 45,000 square feet. 8 separate units. Currently 85% occupied. The building was owned by a developer who'd overextended himself. He needed to sell quickly. Asking price. $9.2 million. It's underpriced for the location, Margaret said. He's motivated. What's it generating? Annual rental income is $1.8 million. Operating expenses are about $650,000. Net operating income, $1.15 million. That's a 12.5% cap rate. That's excellent. It is. But you'd need to finance part of it. Banks will lend you about 70%. You'd need a down payment of around $2.8 million. I'll offer $8.7 million. All cash. Close in 30 days. All cash? Sarah, you'd be putting almost all your liquid capital into one asset. I believe in this market. Tech is growing. Office space in Mountain View will always be valuable. Margaret paused. Hey. But we're creating an LLC. Kim Property Holdings. You'll own the building through the entity. Protects you from liability. Perfect. We closed on November 15, 2019. I paid $8.7 million cash for a commercial building in Mountain View. My family thought I was still working as a software engineer, living in my Oakland studio. I hired a property management company, Premier Commercial Management, to handle day-to-day operations. I reviewed financials monthly but stayed hands-off otherwise. By 2020, I'd increased occupancy to 95%. Annual revenue, $1.9 million. Net operating income, $1.25 million. By 2022, I'd raised rents in line with market rates. Annual revenue, $2.3 million. Net operating income, $1.65 million. The building had appreciated to $11.2 million. My net worth, $9.8 million. My family still thought I was just a software engineer. In 2021, Jessica quit Google. I'm starting a company, she announced at Sunday dinner. That's exciting. Mom said. What kind of company? Direct-to-consumer wellness products. Supplements. Skincare. We're calling it Vitality Collective. That sounds wonderful, Dad said. Very entrepreneurial. Jessica looked at me. You've worked at startups. Any advice? Focus on unit economics. Make sure your customer acquisition cost is sustainable. Obviously. This isn't my first rodeo, Sarah. I ran product at Google. Product management is different from running a company. I'm aware. That's why I have David as my co-founder. He'll handle tech. I'll handle product and business. Over the next year, I watched Jessica build Vitality Collective. They raised a seed round, $2 million from angel investors and a small VC firm. They hired 12 employees. They launched their first products. The company looked impressive from the outside. Beautiful branding. Active social media. Press coverage in TechCrunch. But I saw the numbers. Their customer acquisition cost was $180. Average order value was $95. They were losing money on every customer. How's the company doing? I asked at dinner one night. Amazing. We're growing fast. Tripled our revenue last quarter. What's the revenue? $85,000 last quarter. Up from $28,000. That meant they'd made $85,000 in revenue while spending probably $500,000 plus on payroll, inventory, and marketing. What's your burn rate? We're well capitalized. Don't worry about it. But I did worry. Because I understood startups. And Vitality Collective looked like it was burning through cash without a clear path to profitability. In early 2023, Jessica called me. Sarah, I need a favor. What's up? We need office space. We've been working remote, but we need to bring the team together. Build culture. Makes sense. The thing is, real estate is expensive. We're trying to conserve cash. I heard you work in a building in Mountain View. Do you know if there's any space available? My building. He was asking about my building. I can check. What are you looking for? Maybe 3,000 square feet? Something we can fit 12 people plus room to grow. That's pricey. Mountain View office space runs about $4.50 per square foot per month. You'd be looking at $13,500 monthly. Ouch. That's steep. That's market rate. Well, see what you can find. Maybe there's something cheaper. Or maybe the landlord would be flexible for a startup. I called my property manager, David Chin at Premier Commercial Management. David, I have someone asking about space. My sister. She wants 3,000 square feet for her startup. Unit 3B is available. 3,200 square feet. We're asking $4.50 per square foot. That's $14,400 monthly. What's our flexibility on price? For a quality tenant with good credit? Not much. Market is strong. But family is family. What do you want to do? Let me think about it. I thought about it for 3 days. About whether to reveal that I owned the building. About whether to give Jessica a deal. In the end, I decided to stay anonymous. Rent her the space at market rate through the LLC. Keep my ownership private. David, let's rent her Unit 3B. Standard lease terms. Market rate. She doesn't know I own the building. Keep it that way. Understood. Jessica signed the lease in March 2023. Vitality Collective moved into Unit 3B. $14,400 per month. 3-year lease. At family dinners she talked about our new office in Mountain View. The landlord is some investment company, she said. Very corporate. But the space is perfect for us. I smiled. Said nothing. You should come visit, Jessica said to me. See what a real startup looks like. Maybe. I never visited as her sister. But I visited the building twice a month as the owner. I walked past Unit 3B. Saw through the glass walls. Saw her team working. Saw the Vitality Collective logo on the wall. He had no idea she was paying me rent. By mid-2023, Vitality Collective was in trouble. They'd burned through their seed round. They needed more capital. But VCs weren't biting. The market is tough right now, Jessica said at dinner. Investors are being conservative. What's your runway? I asked. We have about 6 months of cash. We're looking at a bridge round. Just need to get us to profitability. What's your path to profitability? We're increasing prices, launching new products, cutting costs. What costs? Salaries. We're doing layoffs. Reducing the team from 12 to 7. What about the office? We need the office. Culture is important. We're keeping it. I did the math in my head. $14,400 monthly rent. Times 12 months. $172,800 annually. For a company that was making maybe $400,000 in annual revenue while spending $1.5 million. The office was bleeding them dry. But Jessica didn't see it that way. To her, the office was a symbol of legitimacy. Proof that Vitality Collective was real. By November 2023, things got worse. The bridge round fell through. They had 3 months of runway left. Jessica called me. Sarah, I need help. What kind of help? Financial advice. You're good with money. I need to cut costs, but I don't know where. Show me your financials. She sent me a spreadsheet. Revenue. Expenses. Cash balance. It was worse than I thought. They were burning $95,000 per month. Revenue was $32,000. They had $275,000 in the bank. You have 3 months, I said. I know. That's why I'm talking to you. Your biggest fixed cost is payroll. $58,000 per month for 7 people. I can't cut more people. We're already skeletal. Your second biggest cost is office space. $14,400 per month. We need the office. Could you go remote? Save $14,400 monthly. No. Culture would die. The team needs to be together. Jessica, you're going to run out of money. Culture doesn't matter if the company dies. You don't understand. This isn't just about spreadsheets. It's about building something that matters. It's about survival. I'll figure it out. Thanks for the advice. She didn't figure it out. In December 2023, Vitality Collective missed their rent payment. David called me. Sarah, Unit 3B didn't pay rent. First time since they moved in. How late are they? 7 days. I sent a reminder notice. No response. Send another notice. If they don't pay in 10 days, start the formal process. You sure? It's your sister. Business is business. Jessica paid 14 days late. With a note, sorry for the delay. Cash flow timing issue. January 2024 rent was also late. 17 days. February rent was 23 days late. I didn't reach out to her. This was between her company and my LLC. I stayed out of it. But at family dinners the stress was visible. Jessica looked exhausted. Thinner. Dark circles under her eyes. How's the company? Mom asked. Fine. Just busy. Are you sure? You look tired. Startups are hard, Mom. But we're making progress. She wasn't making progress. She was drowning. In March 2024 they didn't pay rent at all. David called me. No payment. No communication. What do you want to do? Send a notice of default. Give them 10 days to cure or we start eviction proceedings. You want to evict your sister? I want to enforce the lease. This is a business relationship. If she can't pay rent, she can't occupy the space. Hey, I'll send the notice. Jessica called me that evening. Sarah, did you know the landlord is threatening to evict us? What happened? We're behind on rent. Just a few weeks. But they're being really aggressive about it. How far behind? Like, 6 weeks. Maybe $20,000 total. Actually $43,200. 3 months of rent. Jessica, that's 3 months. I know. But we have investors coming to visit. We need the office to show them we're real. If we get evicted, we lose the funding round. Can you catch up on rent? If we get the funding, yes. But we need 30 days. Maybe 60. Have you talked to the landlord? I tried. There's some faceless Effie. The property manager just sends form letters. No flexibility. Maybe if you explained your situation. I tried. They don't care. Corporate investors. They just want their rent check. I said nothing. Can you lend me $20,000? Jessica asked. Just to catch up on rent. I'll pay you back when we close the round. Jessica. Please. I'm desperate. This company is everything to me. I can't let it die because of some greedy landlord. I took a breath. I can't lend you $20,000. Why not? You make good money. You live in a studio. You have savings. My finances are more complicated than you think. What does that mean? It means I can't just hand you $20,000. Some sister you are. She hung up. In April 2024, we started formal eviction proceedings. Legal notice. Court filings. The whole process. Jessica was furious. At family dinner, she ranted about the corporate vulture landlord who wouldn't work with startups. They're killing my company, she said. Over $43,000. That's nothing to them but everything to us. Maybe you should have paid your rent, Dad said carefully. I was trying to keep the company alive. Rent or payroll. I chose payroll. I chose keeping my team employed. But you signed a lease, Mom said. I know I signed a lease. But there should be some humanity in business. Some understanding that startups are hard. I ate my dinner silently. Sarah, you're quiet, Jessica said. What do you think? I think landlords have expenses too. Property taxes. Insurance. Mortgages. They can't just forgive rent because a tenant is struggling. That's cold. That's reality. You sound like a capitalist robot. I sound like someone who understands business. Whatever. You've never built anything. You just write code for other people's companies. You don't understand what it's like to have everything on the line. I could have told her then. About the building. About owning the space she was about to be evicted from. About building a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio while she assumed I was just a code monkey. But I didn't. I just kept eating. On April 15, 2024, Jessica got approval from an investor for emergency bridge funding. $250,000. Enough to pay back rent and buy 3 more months of runway. She called me excited. We're saved. The investor came through. We can pay the rent. Keep the office. That's great. I'm going to go to the office tomorrow. Pay in person. Show the property manager we're serious. Good idea. The next day, April 16th, I had a meeting scheduled with David Chin to review Q1 financials. We'd scheduled it weeks ago. 10 a.m. at the building. I arrived at 9:45 a.m. Parked in my reserved owner's spot in the garage. I went to the building manager's office on the first floor. David was already there preparing documents. Ready to review numbers? He asked. Let's do it. We went through the financials. Revenue was up 8% year over year. Expenses were controlled. Net operating income was strong. What about Unit 3B? I asked. Are they current now? Not yet. But the tenant called yesterday. Said she's bringing payment today. Cashier's check for full back rent. Good. At 10:47 a.m. while David and I were reviewing maintenance expenses, my phone buzzed. Security calling. Miss Kim, there's a situation in Unit 3B. What's going on? The tenant is moving furniture into the conference room. They're using it as storage. The space is getting crowded. Other tenants have complained about noise. I'll come up. I told David I'd be back in 15 minutes. Took the elevator to the third floor. I walked toward Unit 3B. Through the glass walls I could see chaos. Boxes everywhere. Inventory stacked in the conference room. The office that was designed for 12 people now crammed with products and packaging materials. I opened the door. Walked in. Jessica was directing 2 employees who were moving boxes. She didn't see me at first. Then she turned. Her face went from confusion to recognition to shock. "Sarah? What are you doing here?" "I have a meeting in the building." "Oh. Well, we're kind of busy. We're reorganizing. Got a lot of inventory we need to store." I looked around. "You're using the office as a warehouse?" "Temporarily. We're growing. We need the space." An employee approached. Young woman. Maybe 24. "Jessica, where do you want these boxes?" "Put them in that empty office." "That's not empty," the woman said. "Someone has a desk and computer in there. They can work from home today. We need the space." I walked toward the office she was referring to. Saw a desk with files and a laptop. A name placard, David, head of engineering. "Whose office is this?" I asked. Jessica came over. "That's David's space. He's my co-founder. But he's not here today. We can use it." "He's not here today or you kicked him out?" "Sarah, stay out of this. This is my company. My space. I make the decisions. Your space that you haven't paid rent for in 3 months. I'm paying today. I have the check right now. Once I pay, the landlord can't say anything about how we use the space. Actually, the lease specifies the space is for office use, not warehouse storage." "How would you know what the lease says?" I paused. This was the moment. "Because I own the building." The room went silent. Jessica stared at me. "What?" "Kim Property Holdings. That's my LE. I bought this building in 2019. You've been renting from me for 14 months. Her face went through several expressions. Disbelief. "Bigger. You own this building?" "Yes. And you've been letting me struggle? Letting me stress about paying rent? Threatening me with eviction? You signed a lease. With market rate rent. This is a business transaction. I'm your sister. And this is my investment property, which you failed to pay rent on for 3 months. Because I was trying to save my company. That's not my problem. You have a legal obligation. You signed a contract." Jessica's employee shifted uncomfortably. "Should we step outside?" "No," Jessica said. "Stay. I want witnesses to this." He turned to me. "So what, you've been spying on me? Watching me struggle while you collect rent money?" "I've been running a business. You're a tenant. You pay rent or you get evicted. That's how it works. This is unbelievable. Our parents gave you $50,000 for college. Where do you think you got the money to buy an $8.7 million building?" "I earned it. From a startup acquisition. I invested it wisely. I built something." "You built something by being secretive and manipulative." "I built something by working hard and making smart decisions, which apparently you don't respect." Jessica grabbed a box of my files from David's desk. Dumped them on the floor. "Get your crap out of my office." "It's not your office. It's my building. We're paying rent. As of today we're current. Which means you can't evict us and you can't tell us how to use the space." "Actually, I can. The lease prohibits using the office as a storage facility. What you're doing right now is a lease violation." "Are you serious right now?" "Completely. Either you move this inventory out or I start eviction proceedings based on lease violations instead of non-payment." Jessica walked toward me. Got close. Her face was red. "You know what your problem is? You're so busy being clever and secretive that you forgot how to be human. How to be family. And you're so busy playing entrepreneur that you forgot business has rules. Rent is due on the 1st of the month. Leases have terms. None of that changes because we share DNA. Move your crap." Jessica suddenly yelled at David's desk. She grabbed his laptop. His files. Threw them into a box. "Work from Starbucks. We need this space for inventory." I watched her destroy someone's workspace. Watched her unravel. "I'm leaving," I said calmly. You have until end of business today to remove all non-office inventory from this space. If it's still here tomorrow, you're in violation of your lease. I'll send you written notice. Go ahead. Send your notices. I have an investor meeting next week. They're coming here. They need to see we're real. I'm not moving anything. Then you'll be evicted. I walked out. Took the elevator back to the first floor. David Chin was waiting. How did it go? Send her a lease violation notice. Inventory storage is prohibited. She has 24 hours to comply or we proceed with eviction based on material breach of lease terms. Even though she's paying the back rent? She missed the 3-month deadline. We already started eviction proceedings. The payment doesn't cure the violation. And now she's in violation of the use restrictions. Document everything. Understood. I left the building. Got in my car. Drove back to my actual home. A 3-bedroom condo in Sunnyvale worth $1.9 million that my family also didn't know I owned. I said nothing. I left. The next morning, April 17, 2024 at 7:30 a.m., David sent the formal eviction notice via email and certified mail. By 8 a.m., my phone had 63 missed calls and messages. Jessica, you can't do this. Jessica, I'm bringing you the rent check today. Jessica, please. I'm begging you. Mom, Sarah, what is going on? Jessica called crying. Dad, call your sister. She's in crisis. Jessica, my investor is coming Monday. Monday. I need the office. Jessica, how can you do this to family? I didn't respond to any of them. At 10 a.m., Jessica showed up at the building with a cashier's check. David called me. She's here. With $43,200. Wants to pay rent and stay. Too late. The eviction is proceeding. She has 30 days to vacate per the court order. She's crying in the lobby. That's unfortunate. But business is business. Sarah. Don't. I know it looks harsh. But she's had months to fix this. She made choices. Now she faces consequences. By noon, Mom was calling me every 15 minutes. I finally answered. Sarah, you need to stop this. Stop what? The eviction. Jessica showed up with rent money. You need to accept it. The eviction is based on multiple factors now. Non-payment and lease violations. She turned the office into a storage facility. So, she's paying rent. 3 months late. After ignoring multiple notices. And she's using the space in violation of her lease terms. Since when are you a heartless landlord? Since I invested $8.7 million in a commercial property that requires professional management. You own the building? His mom. I've owned it since 2019. I'm a property owner. I have multiple assets. I'm financially successful. But none of you noticed because you were too busy celebrating Jessica's startup. We didn't know. Because you didn't ask. Just like Jessica didn't ask who owned the building she was renting. She just assumed it was some faceless corporation. Easier to be angry at corporate vultures than to consider that maybe she'd made poor business decisions. She's your sister. And this is my building. She signed a lease. She violated it repeatedly. Now she's facing the consequences of her choices. Mom started crying. You're destroying her dream. Her dream was already dying. I'm just enforcing the lease agreement she signed. I hung up. Dad demanded an emergency family dinner. We need to resolve this as a family. We met at their house in San Jose on April 20, 2024. 4 days after the confrontation, Jessica arrived with David, her co-founder husband. They looked exhausted. Thank you all for coming, Dad started. We need to figure out a path forward. There's nothing to figure out, I said. Jessica has a 30-day eviction notice. She needs to vacate the property. Sarah, please, Mom said. Can't you show some flexibility? I've shown flexibility. For 3 months of non-payment. Now she's using the space in violation of her lease. There's no more flexibility. Jessica leaned forward. I have an investor coming Monday. If I don't have an office, the deal dies. If the deal dies, the company dies. Everything I've worked for. 2 years of my life. That's not my responsibility. You could fix this with one phone call. I could. But why should I? Because I'm your sister. So, You've treated me like I don't matter for 30 years. Every family dinner was about your achievements, your promotions, your house, your startup. I was just the quiet little sister who coded for other people. Remember that phrase? Sarah just writes code for other people's companies. You said that 6 days ago. Jessica looked down. I've built something significant, I continued. A real estate portfolio. Financial security. Success by any measure. But none of you knew because none of you asked. You were too busy assuming I was less than you. That's not fair, Mom said. Isn't it? When's the last time you asked about my work? My life? My accomplishments? It's always about Jessica. Always has been. We're proud of both our daughters, Dad said. No, you're proud of Jessica. I'm just, there. The backup daughter. The one who should be grateful to be included. Sarah, Jessica started. I bought that building when I was 29 years old. Paid $8.7 million cash. Built a business model that generates over $1.6 million in annual net income. My net worth is nearly $10 million. And none of you had any idea because you never looked past your own assumptions about who I was. The room was silent. So no, I said. I'm not going to save your startup by forgiving rent or overlooking lease violations. You signed a contract. Live with it. David, Jessica's husband, spoke for the first time. What if we pay the back rent plus a penalty? And move the inventory out immediately? The eviction is already in process. Legal fees have been incurred. Court dates are scheduled. How much would it cost to stop it? He asked. More than you have. And more than I'm willing to negotiate. Name a price. I looked at Jessica. There is no price. This isn't about money. This is about consequences. 4 years of being dismissed. For being kicked out of my own building because you needed storage space. For being told to work from Starbucks like I was the one who didn't matter. I didn't know it was your building. Exactly. You didn't know. Didn't ask. Didn't consider that maybe, just maybe, I'd built something significant. You just assumed the landlord was some evil corporation you could bully and manipulate. Jessica was crying now. So you're going to destroy my company to make a point? I'm not destroying your company. Your company destroyed itself with unsustainable unit economics and poor cash management. I'm just enforcing a lease agreement. Mom stood up. Sarah, if you do this, you're choosing money over family. No, I'm choosing boundaries over enabling. Jessica made choices. Bad choices. She gets to live with them. We didn't raise you to be this cold. You didn't raise me at all, Mom. You raised Jessica. I just sort of existed alongside her success. I stood. The eviction stands. Jessica has 26 days left to vacate. I suggest she use them to find alternative space or wind down the company. Either way, this conversation is over. I left. Jessica vacated Unit 3B on May 15, 2024. One day before the final eviction deadline. Vitality Collective shut down 3 weeks later. The investor deal fell through. Without an office to show, they couldn't project legitimacy. The company dissolved. Employees laid off. Assets liquidated. Jessica blamed me publicly. On LinkedIn she wrote, "Sometimes the biggest obstacles to success are the people closest to you. Family isn't always support. Sometimes it's sabotage." I didn't respond. My parents stopped inviting me to family dinners. I was too focused on business. Too cold. Not the daughter they thought they raised. Fine by me. 3 months later, in August 2024, David, Jessica's husband, reached out to me. Sarah, can we talk? Just you and me. No, Jessica. About what? About what happened. And what happens next. We met at a coffee shop in Palo Alto. Jessica is angry, he said. Probably will be for a long time. I know. But I wanted to tell you something. You were right. I looked up. The company was dying, David continued. Terrible unit economics. Unsustainable burn rate. We were never going to make it. The office was bleeding us dry. You evicting us probably saved us from 6 more months of suffering and debt. Tell that to Jessica. She's not ready to hear it yet. But she will be. Eventually. Maybe. I also wanted to say I'm impressed. With what you've built. I did some research after everything happened. Your building is just one asset. You own other properties too. Yes. That's incredible. You built real wealth while everyone was focused on startups and exits. Smart. Thank you. Jessica feels betrayed. But honestly, I think she's just shocked that you were more successful than her and she never knew. That's her issue to work through. It is. He paused. I'm starting something new. Smaller. More focused. Better unit economics. Would you consider investing? Are you serious? Completely. You understand business. You have capital. And you're not afraid to make hard decisions. That's exactly the kind of investor I want. I thought about it. Send me a deck. Let me review it. I will. Thank you. It's now December 2024. 8 months since I evicted Jessica. My building is 100% occupied. Unit 3B was released to a Series B startup in June. $16,500 per month. 20% increase over what Jessica was paying. Annual revenue from the building, $2.5 million. Net operating income, $1.8 million. The property is now valued at $12.4 million. I invested $200,000 in David's new company. Convertible note. Reasonable terms. I'm a passive investor. No drama. Just business. I bought another building. A small office complex in Fremont. $6.2 million. My portfolio is expanding. My parents and I speak occasionally. Strained but civil. They're slowly accepting that I'm not the daughter they thought I was. Jessica and I haven't spoken. She blocked me on all platforms. Moved to Austin with David to start fresh. Last week Mom called. Sarah, I need to apologize. For what? For not seeing you. For all those years. We were so focused on Jessica's path that we ignored yours. I know. You built something remarkable. And we missed it because we weren't paying attention. You weren't looking. No, we weren't. And I'm sorry. Thank you. Do you think you and Jessica will ever reconcile? Maybe. When she's ready to see me as an equal instead of as the little sister who should have stayed in her place. That's fair. She was wrong about a lot of things. Yes, she was. But Sarah, you were harsh. I was fair. There's a difference. Mom sighed. I suppose there is. We talked for another 20 minutes. About my properties. My investments. My success. For the first time in my life she asked questions and actually listened to the answers. Progress. I don't regret evicting Jessica. I don't regret enforcing my lease. I don't regret choosing my boundaries over her feelings. Because here's what I learned. Family doesn't give you the right to exploit. Love doesn't mean enabling. And being kind doesn't mean being weak. Jessica built her startup on assumptions. That investors would always come through. That rent could wait. That the faceless landlord would be flexible. He was wrong about all of it. And when she kicked me out of my own building, literally threw my files on the floor and told me to work from Starbucks, she revealed exactly how much respect she had for me. None. So I showed her exactly how much power I had. All of it. The next morning the calls started. The eviction notice was delivered. The consequences were real. And Jessica learned what I'd known all along. Silence isn't weakness. It's strategy. I built my empire while she assumed I was just a coder. I owned the building while she thought she was renting from strangers. I held all the cards while she thought she was winning the game. The only thing that changed was her knowledge of it. And that changed everything.